And I'll be happy to answer questions on this or on anything else that you want. This is an open forum. The gentleman there had his hand up first, and yeah, just go ahead and if you can blurt out, I'll repeat it for those who can't hear.
Great, good to see you again. On the same page with you in terms of the big picture. Where I'm struggling is that the left has been able to paint us in the corner of being obstruction. We come out and we'll have all the specifics that you spoke of.
Right.
But they have the greatest or the easiest opportunity for debt reduction, deficit reduction, and getting toward a balanced budget is already been provided. It's called Old Simpson, or SimpsonBowles, whichever way you want to say it.
I say Bowles Simpson because he's
But the president's own provision, of course, he walked away from it because it brought down rates and everybody pays a little bit. It certainly doesn't sound that. But I can't figure out for the life of me why we don't embrace it. He'll run from it. It's a good plan. It's not perfect. Our original debate is that was the Care Act for Obama. Well, that's law now. So we can't use that as an issue. Let's take a good compromise and use it. It's better than anything else that's out there. We'll never get through your plan, which I like.
yeah, no, it's
But
a good.
it won't get through.
You
But
made that
this will
excellent
have a
point.
chance to pass. Let's do it and move forward because we're not gaining any ground.
Yeah, the reason that I struggled with SimpsonBowles the very first time actually had less to do with Obamacare, which is not dealt with in SimpsonBowles, and more to do with the fact it doesn't even come close to solving the problem. It gets you to the $4 trillion worth of savings over 10 years that the rating agencies say that we need to have in order to maintain our credit ratings. That still leaves you with more than $6 trillion worth of deficits over that same 10-year period. So my fear going into this 2 years ago was that I didn't want to have a solution that made everybody think we had fixed the problem when we had not, because then it takes the pressure off to actually fix it. After the election, obviously for the reasons you mentioned, you sort of have to look your hand over again. And there are parts of SimpsonBowles that I really like, including the tax program of it, which is exactly what the Republicans have been pushing for a long time, which is a simpler, flatter tax with fewer deductions, if any deductions. It's a much fairer tax system. And we'll get into tonight about what might be a more fair way to tax incomes than the way we do it now. So the long and the short of it is that we've actually started to take a much closer look at it in my office. And started working with some of the groups who are promoting it in Washington to see if we can get to the point where, you know what, we don't like the whole thing, and as long as we can convince people that this wouldn't end the debate, then it might be something we're willing to push. Paul Ryan said favorable things about SimpsonBowles on Sunday in the talk shows. That's a major departure for him because he was one of the swing votes against SimpsonBowles when it first came out 2.5 years ago. So I think you may see it get more attention. I encourage everybody, though, who follows it to recognize it is not a silver bullet. It does not solve the difficulties at all. And until you fix that, and again, when we say it doesn't deal with Obamacare and health care, remember, that graph doesn't change. SimpsonBowles would not change anything about that graph, and that's where a large portion of our deficits are coming from. We have to change the culture about how we consume health care in this country in order to fix it. But yeah, no, we are looking at much closer to my office, and you'll hear more about it, I think, this year. Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for showing up with us. It's always nice to see our representatives show up. There's been talk of the government shutdown, possibly, spending and all doesn't get raised. And there's been talk of withholding Social Security payments to people that military retirees make. And looking around, there's a lot that are either on Social Security or retired. Is that a possibility? Of course, what can we do? I'll guarantee you that President Obama's face not going to do it. You know, a lot of the other people, you know, why are they trying to fear of God per se?
Yeah, there's several different answers. If we get to a government shutdown situation, which we've done, by the way, it's actually used to be a lot more common. It went very badly for the Republicans during the Clinton administration, so I think there's been a little shyness about doing it again, but it used to be a lot more common for at least short periods of time. But if the government does shut down for a short period of time, a long period of time, you asked a couple of questions. Social Security payments still have to go out. Social Security payments are actually funded differently. The Social Security Administration will continue to send out the checks. One of the fear-mongering, I think, around that was one of the things that frustrated me so much during the last government shutdown debate, because Social Security checks have to go out. There's plenty, I know people don't believe this, there's plenty of money in the Social Security Trust Fund to pay the benefits. Yes, we have stolen that money and used it to run the government, but it still has notes from the federal government and I think I showed this in another presentation. In fact, I got the picture of the trust fund. It's a locked file cabinet in West Virginia, and inside there is $2 trillion worth of government notes. And there's plenty of money with which to pay Social Security benefits. So Social Security is not the issue. Military retirement payments would not be paid automatically. The president's pay would not be paid automatically. My pay would not be paid automatically. We have taken the position in the House that during a government shutdown, the president has the right to prioritize spending. Okay? The basis for that is an investigation that the Government Accounting Office did in the 1980s during the Reagan administration, another time the government closed down. Okay? And we believe that the president not only has the ability, but the obligation during a shutdown to prioritize payments. He says he does not, that he can't pay anybody. So again, that remains to be seen if we cross that bridge. But Social Security is a different story. Social Security checks will be on.
But welfare probably would be paid, unemployment, for instance.
In a full government shutdown, no. Because in a full government shutdown, there's no authority to write any checks. The Treasury doesn't have the authority to send out the checks. Again, the Social Security Administration is different because they write a different check. At least that's my understanding. Sir?
Yeah, with Social Security and Medicare, that's all we're hearing about being cut. Now, we pay into that all our working lives. I don't hear any talk, see any graphs on food stamps, free phones, all this kind of stuff. I have not heard anybody talking about that or that. It all seems to be aimed, including at senior citizens and military veterans. That's all I'm hearing about. So why are we going to talk about all this other money we're giving away, giving to illegal aliens? And you want to balance the approach, let's balance.
A couple different answers to that one as well. No one is talking about changing the Social Security program or Medicare for current retirees. That's one of those things that the media takes and spins. You can make your own decisions about media bias and so forth. The most aggressive cost-cutting strategy is the one that I wrote 2 years ago for the Republican Study Committee, and what that did is asked folks who were 59 years old to work 2 more months before they got their benefits. It did not change anything on anybody 60 or above. For folks who were 59, they worked an additional 2 months. That was the most aggressive cost-saving move in Social Security, similarly in Medicare. So one of the answers is that no one's trying to balance the budget on the back of current seniors. Mostly they're looking to me, we're looking to folks my age, I'm 45, and my children, as we look at the long-term viability of these health programs. Why don't you hear about cutting other things, the cell phone program? We do, and we propose regularly to cut those things. Again, you can make your own decisions about why you're not hearing about it from the media as to whether or not there's a bias that way. But the truth of the matter is, go back to that example. Y'all have heard me do this before. One of the reasons I do this is so that when we have discussions, I can show people the relative size of things. Okay, on this graph up here, we're short 30 grand, roughly, making 48, spending 78. The cell phone program represents about 25 cents of that $30,000. So that's why you don't hear much about it. It's the old adage, why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is. You're not going to fix this problem until you at least reform over the long run your 3 big drivers of the debt: Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Again, you can cut the military budget to 0 and it doesn't solve the problem. Those 3 programs take up almost every, those 3 programs actually plus interest take up every penny that we make so far today. Yeah, well, Medicaid, we do talk about reforming that in a similar way that we talk, not raising the age because it's not an age-driven program. We have talked about block granting into the states, moving away from a pay-for-service program, etc. But what was the other thing, Lee? Welfare? food stamps and so forth. We've tried to fix food stamps. This is an interesting story, by the way, about how Washington works on food stamps.